Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Want to talk a little bit about factory sealed games and should you open them. My first rule is if you have a game that you like and it's factory sealed and you really want to play it, go for it. If you can afford to, not sell it, if it's a game that you just really want to play, pop that sucker open and play it. Video games are all about fun and playing them. Yeah, museum pieces are fine, and these games look cool on the shelf, as you can see behind me. But playing them is first and foremost. And if you're kind of in the middle, look it up on eBay. Look up completed auctions. If your factory sealed game that you're interested in is worth a lot of money, you might want to sell it and then just buy an open version, maybe a complete open version. It's going to be typically cheaper, and in some cases much cheaper to buy an open one than a factory sealed one. But if it's worth $20 or less, or you can afford to do that, pop that sucker open. Or maybe, and if you're real well off, open it no matter what it's worth. Whatever, it's we can't take these things with us. And it's a ton of fun to open a factory sealed game. And I'm going to show you some of mine, or actually I'm going to show you all of my factory sealed games. It's not many because I'm not a factory sealed game collector per se, but I like to have a few of some of my favorite titles. And but if you can afford to, pop that sucker open and just have fun. Video games are all about fun. Now, for me, video games are also a business. I write books about video games, obviously, and I sell games on eBay and at retro gaming shows. But mostly it's about fun and the passion I have for the hobby, because if it wasn't, I would be in a different line of work, because commenting on, writing about, and selling retro games is not a path to wealth, but I enjoy it, so that's what I do. So let me show you a few of my factory sealed games and why I have them. So I was at a retro gaming convention last year sometime, and there was one of these video game chains, like a chain store, retail chain, like Game Exchange or somebody like that, and they had a bunch of factory sealed games. They had around probably a little over 20 Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis factory sealed games, and they were just mixed in on the shelf with the other titles, and they priced them as though they were opened or just cartridge only or whatever. Some of these chains do that. They don't distinguish between factory sealed and disc only or cartridge only. GameStop has done that for years, and even when they used to sell NES games and Genesis games and Super Nintendo games, every once in a while they would get a factory sealed one in, and it would be the same price as cartridge only or whatever. And I bought a lot of cool games in that way. And even in the late 90s, mid to late, or eBay started around 96 or so, and I was very early, an eBay adopter very early on, and I remember selling factory sealed games I'd buy at GameStop. But anyway, my number one rule is if you want to play it, open it if you can afford to do so. If you've got a super expensive game that's factory sealed and it would mean a lot to you to sell that, it might help you pay bills or put food on the table or whatever, or pay off, some credit card debt, sell that sucker and get you a cartridge only or a complete copy, because usually those are way cheaper than factory sealed games. So let me show you a few that I have and why I have them. So when I bought all those games at the gaming expo last year that I was talking about, where they just had them for, just on the regular shelf mixed in with cartridges, the two I have left are Zoop and Ah, Real Monsters, based on the old cartoon. Now, this is a cool puzzle game, and, the cartoon-based game, and these aren't worth a ton factory sealed. I still have these just sitting on my shelf because they look neat, and they're pretty neat. The others that I got in this sale were like Super Star Wars and Magic Boy, and some that are worth a lot more. Those were both for the Super Nintendo. I sold those on eBay, and I sold some. There were duplicates of some of these too, and I sold some at the show to Heritage Auctions. As many of you know, they deal in factory sealed games. They sell them in auctions and they sell graded ones. They'll submit them to WATA, the video game grading company, and they will auction these off and get a lot of money for them. They bought some from me to flip, so I bought them from a store booth to flip, and then they bought them from me to further flip, get graded and flip. So anyway, the circle of life or whatever. But I do, when I see a factory sealed game that's undervalued, I'll buy it and I'll put it on eBay if I want to. Occasionally I'll open it if I just really want to play it. So another factory sealed game I have is BASIC for the Astrocade. Now you can learn BASIC and program in BASIC on the old Bally Astrocade video game console. And as you can see, I paid $3 at that. This was a warehouse find, apparently. I got this at a retro gaming convention about probably 3 or 4 years ago, and someone just had a big stack of them, just selling them for $3 each. Now, am I going to program BASIC on my Astrocade? Most likely not, but this looks really neat on my shelf. And if you'll see, it is factory sealed. You can see it has an Atari 5200 sticker. Now, this is obviously not a 5200 game, so maybe, I don't know how that happened. If there was some company or distribution center that had a bunch of games that were distributing for different systems, and they slapped an Atari 5200 sticker on there. That's kind of neat to have just for that. That was $3. I'm going to keep it. It looks cool on my shelf. I doubt I'll open it because Bally Astrocade games, I don't like the boxes for these because they're completely open here. So once you take the seal off, it just kind of doesn't look good on your shelf, and the manual falls out and stuff. Just terrible boxes. Probably the worst boxes ever for a game. But I'm not going to play that one anyway, or for a gaming company. Those are the terrible boxes. I'm not going to play that one anyway, so I'll just leave it sealed. Now, a lot of you remember, I can't remember the name of the company, but a lot of you will remember, some of you older gamers, during the 1990s, there was a company that sold... they had probably about 30 or 40, or maybe more, Atari 2600 and Atari 7800 games factory sealed. They must have had thousands and thousands of those because for years and years they offered them for 99 cents a piece. And I bought quite a few back in the day. And I'll show you the ones I have left. The reasons I have these left is because I have them otherwise in the box or the cartridge, and I've got, and so I don't need them. I don't need to open these unless I just wanted to, just for fun. Opening a factory sealed game is a lot like a time warp. I call it the cheapest form of time travel because you can be a kid again on Christmas morning in the late 70s, early 80s, or in the 90s, whatever your era is. And opening a factory sealed game is kind of a time warp. So I might open these at some point just for fun. But I've got Dig Dug on the 2600, still has the, little hanger there for retail display. And that Dig Dug for 2600 is a solid adaptation. I've got Defender, not the greatest port, but this is neat. It's factory sealed and it comes with a comic book. So that's pretty cool to have that factory sealed. Venture for the Atari 2600. I've just been recently playing this on my Intellivision, which is a surprisingly good port. And I've got the 2600 version factory sealed. And again, I don't bust it open because I have it otherwise, opened. I really like, not the greatest box art, but still the snake looks kind of neat, but that hero doesn't look, not exactly Boris Vallejo quality art. I've got Miss Pac-Man factory sealed. I love this box art. Looks really neat. These just look neat on my shelf. I've got Jungle Hunt, a really nice port for the 2600. And speaking of, Miss Pac-Man is one of the best 2600 ports there is. Excellent game. But I've got Jungle Hunt factory sealed. Looks really neat, and that's a solid port as well. So there's my Atari 2600 factory sealed games. And again, I might open them at some point if I just kind of want to take a little, pretend it's, Christmas back in the day and just want to have a little time warp. Now I'm going to get into, I've got 3 factory sealed Intellivision games, and then that'll do it for the video as far as showing you what games I have. Now, I've got Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back factory sealed, and this was a neat game for the 2600 and Intellivision. This is the Intellivision version I have factory sealed, and I'm tempted to open it. One reason I'm tempted to open games is because I want to see what comes with it other than the cartridge and the manual. And because sometimes you'll get like little catalogs or like a fold-out poster or some kind of advertisement, and those are always neat to see. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, so right now I have this factory sealed because it's fairly valuable. It's probably worth around 50 or 60 bucks. And I've actually put this on eBay before for, like, I started off at 80 and then I came down to 60 and it still didn't sell. Just maybe the right person wasn't online to look at it. And so I've kept it, and right now it's on my shelf because if I didn't care about Star Wars or and I do have this game, just to play as a cartridge. And if I didn't have that, I don't know, I might just sell it anyway for 40 or something, whatever I can get for it. But it's factory sealed. I love the Intellivision. I love Star Wars. I love The Empire Strikes Back, my favorite game or movie in the series. So for now, I'm just going to keep this factory sealed. It looks really cool on my shelf. Another one I have is Buzz Bombers. This is for the Intellivision also, and it's a little bit like Centipede. It's probably the closest thing another company, or at least Mattel, has come to making a Centipede game. Centipede is available on the Intellivision, and it's a pretty decent port, and it's kind of a harder to find game. But Buzz Bombers, if you like Centipede, you should like Buzz Bombers. It's a neat game, and I do have it in the box complete, and so I'm keeping my factory sealed game. You can see on the back, maybe you can see that, it's got the seam that shows you it is indeed factory sealed and not just resealed. And so yeah, I like that. Kind of interesting cartoonish art, so that looks cool on my shelf. And the centerpiece of my factory sealed video game collection, this is the final piece I'm going to show you, is Tron Deadly Discs. I've mentioned this in a video before, but I want to talk a little bit more about this. Again, you can see the seam. Maybe you can see that in the back, the vertical seam, showing you that it is indeed factory sealed. This one's in really nice condition. And these Intellivision games I've shown you, I got these at retro gaming cons for cheap. Maybe they were just undervalued, or the seller didn't quite know what they had or whatever. But this, I think I paid $10 for this, was just a great deal. And I did a little research for this video looking it up. This is the storybook version. The cover folds out, and this is harder to find than one that just maybe has the flap open or whatever. This is the one that opens up like a book. It's called the storybook. A lot of people call it, the storybook version. And I've noticed this goes for about $70 or $80, factory sealed, maybe $60 minimum. And so I don't want to break this open. I do have the game separately, cartridge only. It's a cracked cartridge, but it still plays. So I'm really tempted to open this up and just see what's inside, to see if there are any inserts, or posters or foldouts, or anything extra besides just the cartridge and the manual. So I'm really curious about that. Maybe if I ever do decide to open this, right now it's difficult because I'm tempted to sell it because, sure, who couldn't use 60, 70, 80 bucks? And, I'm not independently wealthy, so I could do that. Or I could just, right now, I just have it as a museum piece. I like my game room, and I like showcase pieces and things to show off. And, just if I'm giving someone a tour of my game room or whatever, I like to show some kind of neat and interesting pieces. I'm a big fan of the Tron movie and of this game. So right now I'm just going to keep this factory sealed. Let me know in the comments if I should open this one. If I do open this, I will do a video of it for sure, because I think that would be kind of interesting to see what would be in there. But we'll see about that. Let me think about that one. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Comment below what do you do if you get a factory sealed game? Do you keep it? Do you open it? And why? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you for clicking on that like button. Just below to the right, click that subscribe button. It really helps me a lot. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all have a good Sunday. Talk to you later.